At the beginning of the film, a dealer is about to enter his car, but is immediately killed by an unknown man. The killer then steals a ledger and drives away. After that, the killer goes into an office and stabs 2 guards in the throat. Then the killer throws a baseball in the face of another bookie and kills him. The killer also steals a ledger and leaves. The action moves to a railway station, where a man, Smith, is talking to a young man, Nick. Smith tells him about a man named Max and a criminal group involved in horse racing. 2 decades ago, horse racing was very popular, and Max heard rumors that a certain horse would definitely win. Therefore, Max borrowed money from the Mafia to bet on the horse that was supposed to win. Max took his son along, but told him to wait in the car. His son was not happy to learn that his father was gambling. However, Max explained that the money he would win would pay for his college education.
Bye, Mom.
Yeah. Bye, Mom.
Make sure he doesn't come home late.
Love you.
Max naively listens to the rumors, not knowing that the horse race is actually staged. In fact, the horse he had bet on fell in the middle of the race. The bookmaker has threatened Max that not paying the debt to the Mafia is very dangerous, but that doesn't stop him.
Just to be clear, if you lose, you're going to owe a lot of money, kind of man you do not want to owe the smallest.
In fact, after the race, Max returns to his car, but no longer finds it in the parking lot. In addition, the Mafia has kidnapped Max's son as well.
Henry! What have you done with my son?
He's on his way home, just like you.
After torturing Max severely, they kill him and his wife.
Please, I have a family. Where are they?
Fuck.
Immediately afterward, Smith rises from his wheelchair and knocks Nick unconscious.
And you...
Subsequently, he transports his body to a truck. The scene shifts to a young man named Slevin Kalevra. As he wipes the remnants of shaving foam from his face, he hears a thunderous bang at his front door. He approaches the door wearing only a towel, and when he opens it, a young woman named Lindsay enters.
It took you long enough. You're not Nick.
You're not as tall as I thought you'd be. I don't know, I opened the door expecting you to be up here. You're down there.
Well, I'm short for my height. Where's Nick?
I don't know, you're supposed to meet me here. You never showed up.
Initially, she is confused because she expected to see her friend Nick, the owner of the house. Slevin observes that Lindsay knocks deceptively high, leading Slevin to think she was much taller than she was. She is immediately attracted to his attention to detail. Lindsay asks him what happened to his nose, and he tells the story. After losing his job, he went to his girlfriend's house and discovered her cheating with another man. After that, Slevin travels to New York to meet a close friend, Nick. After getting off the plane, Slevin was on the phone with Nick when a man approached him and asked him about a cigarette. Slevin told him he doesn't smoke, and then the stranger demanded his money, hitting him in the nose.
Am I being mugged? And so here I am.
Lindsay claims that the robber did not steal Slevin's luggage or his beautiful watch. The woman then demands to know Nick's whereabouts, to which Slevin replies that he has not yet turned up. Nick was supposed to meet Slevin at the apartment, but he has not shown up yet. Slevin reveals that he entered because the door was not locked. When the phone rings, Slevin answers it, but the caller hangs up. Lindsay immediately dials the return number of the call, then states that she dialed the wrong number and tells Slevin that the call originated from the Hotel Cheval. She now states that they need to find out who called. She calls again and is connected to the same hotel. Lindsay fears that Nick is in danger and that the anonymous caller from the hotel may have provided a clue. Lindsay has a great time playing detective, but she has to go to work and rushes out of the apartment. She forgets to take the sugar she had come to get and rushes back just as Slevin is about to remove the towel. Afterwards, Lindsay takes the sugar and invites Slevin to meet her later. After she leaves, the doorbell rings again. Slevin rushes to open the door, thinking that Lindsay has returned, but two henchmen who work for someone known as the boss enter. The two henchmen act aggressively, thinking that Slevin is Nick. Slevin claims that they got the wrong guy, but unfortunately, he cannot prove it because his wallet was stolen. However, the henchmen are ordered to kidnap the person who lives in this apartment. So they do, and after punching Slevin in the face, they kidnap him and take him to the car.
All I know is the boss slides me this here dress, so I guess you the cat I'm supposed to pick up.
You can ask Lindsay. She lives across the hall. She's the woman who lives there.
I still gotta take you to see the boss.
But I'm not Nick.
The boss resides in the penthouse of a secure building and is the alleged head of a huge criminal organization. Slevin tries to act smart when the two start talking and begin a cat-and-mouse language game. Eventually, the boss reveals that Nick owes him $96,000. Since Slevin does not have this amount, the boss makes him an offer. The boss had a son whom he loved dearly, but he was killed by a rival criminal, Rabbi. Plot therefore, Slevin must do the boss a favor and assassinate the rabbi's son. His son is known as the Fairy because of his homosexuality.
Son was murdered, so the rabbi's son must share the same.
So where do I fit in? Me.
You.
Slevin has no choice but to obey, and he then leaves with the henchmen. At that moment, the boss starts talking to Smith, a hitman, and we find out how things really are. In reality, the boss hired Smith to kill the Fairy, but they need Slevin just to put all the blame on him. Two men hiding inside a vehicle disguised as a plumbing truck photograph Slevin as he is let out of the building. At that moment, one of the men told the other to contact a detective named Brakowski. Slevin returns to Nick's apartment. Lindsay arrives with the intention of transporting him to the Cheval Hotel and continuing the investigation. Lindsay knows a hotel employee who can find out who called the apartment. She notices Slevin looking intently at the newspaper he has just picked up. On the front page is news of Hopkins' disappearance, which is ironic since Hopkins is suspected of being involved in a series of other mysterious disappearances.
Oh, be my friend from the hotel. Be right back.
Lindsay's phone rings in her apartment, and she rushes to answer it, believing it to be the hotel employee. Slevin begins to dress while he waits for her. When he goes to open the door, he is greeted by two Hasidic-looking men who tell him that Shlomo wants to see him.
Put your shoes on. Shlomo wants to see you.
Like I said, I don't know.
Slevin tries to explain that he does not know anyone named Shlomo, but he receives another punch in the stomach and is taken, this time, to visit the rabbi. In the car, Slevin notices that the boss's building and Rabbi's building are in front of each other. The henchman relates that the rabbi and the boss were once partners and even close friends, but one day they turn on each other and try to kill each other, and neither has left the building since. Later, Slevin is brought to Rabbi, and their conversation turns into another game of linguistic cat and mouse. Eventually, the rabbi informs Slevin that he owes him $33,000. Slevin tries again to explain that he has the wrong person and that Nick is just his friend. However, Rabbi gives him 48 hours to collect the $33,000 by any means.
I owe you.
$33,000.
But I'm not Nick Fisher.
You have 48 hours to get my money. Saul will keep...
After Slevin is escorted away, we find out that Smith is playing a double game and collaborating with the rabbi as well. Rabbi informs Smith that he has made half of the predetermined payment into his bank account and that the other half will be paid after the boss is killed. Rabbi asks the hitman why he needs Slevin, and the hitman simply says that he and the young man have unfinished business. Here it becomes clear that, in fact, neither the boss nor Rabbi needs Slevin, but it has something to do with Smith. In fact, the rabbi says he can spot a liar and that the young man is not Nick. Smith walks away smiling and says he knows.
He wasn't lying.
not Nick Fisher. The kid and I have unfinished business.
Later, Slevin returns to the apartment, where he meets Lindsay again. She states that she went to the hotel from where they received the call. Thanks to her friend, who was an employee at the hotel, she found out that the caller was indeed Smith. Lindsay was able to take a picture of him in the elevator, but Slevin says he does not recognize him.
Of him using my cell phone, which originally I thought was dial a number, and taking Smith's. You recognize him?
No.
Later, Slevin tells her everything that happened to him that day.
And the worst part about it is I'm not Nick Fisher.
I'd say you're fucked.
Fucked.
Later, Slevin meets the boss and tells him that he agrees to assassinate the fairy. Slevin asks for a week to complete the task, but the boss tells him that he has 3 days. Then, the boss offers him to play a game of chess. If Slevin wins, he will have a week to kill the fairy. If not, the deal remains on the 3 days. As they play, the boss informs him that the fairy is protected by very competent bodyguards, former war veterans. In addition, the fairy has an amulet around his neck. If it is pressed, it activates the security alarm, and guards will arrive at his apartment within 5 seconds. Meanwhile, we find out that Smith is involved in the plan and is responsible for Nick's debt claim. On the other hand, Smith plans to assassinate Slevin and the fairy together, so as to make it look like they both committed suicide.
He does the kid, I do him. You, we're both gay, the world doesn't understand, it's double.
In the end, Slevin loses the chess game and has 3 days to complete the mission. When he leaves the building, the group of detectives in the minivan notice him. They are looking for Nick, so they are extremely confused when they see Slevin, as they do not understand who he is. In addition, the detectives discover that a hitman nicknamed Good Cat is back in town, so they have to watch out for him as well.
To know what the fuck he is doing in my fucking city.
Hey!
After Slevin returns home, Lindsay reveals that she works at the morgue and found the body of the rabbi's bookie. While Lindsay was at work, Detective Brakowski was also there and revealed that he often gambled with the murdered bookie. Lindsay thinks that Nick escaped and framed Slevin. According to her, Nick paid the stranger on the street to steal the wallet with papers from Slevin. Lindsay affirms that Nick killed the 2 bookies because they were the only ones who knew his face.
You should run.
I can't.
Well, they'll kill you if you...
First time that happened, but Nick has been painting me in the corner since we were kids.
Later, Lindsay says she has to go back to work and invites him to have dinner with her later. That night, as they dine at the restaurant, Slevin notices that the fairy is also here. When the fairy goes into the bathroom, Slevin follows him. Detective Brakowski follows him, but Slevin locks the door. After dinner, Slevin reveals to Lindsay that he pretended to be homosexual and arranged a date with the fairy. In addition, Slevin reveals that Brakowski confronted him in the bathroom. The detective tells Slevin that he was supposed to capture Nick, but he has disappeared. Nevertheless, Brakowski is sure that there is a link between Rabbi Smith and Slevin.
I know what you're into. Who are you? Who the fuck are you?
Later, Lindsay and Slevin return home and spend the night together.
I just realized something.
What's that?
I just made love to you.
The next day, after Slevin leaves the house, he is caught by detectives.
What is your name?
Slevin reveals his full name and then is released because the detectives have nothing against him. Later, the boss's henchman brings Slevin a suit and take him to his appointment with the fairy. Outside, we see that the rabbi's henchmen have been killed in their car. Slevin arrives at the fairy's apartment and shoots him in the stomach shortly thereafter.
Somebody's trying to kill you. Who? Me. That was close. Yeah.
At that moment, Smith arrives and shoots the fairy in the head instead of shooting Slevin. Slevin is not at all surprised, suggesting that the two are working together. Slevin goes to the car and pulls a dead body out of the trunk. In the process, Smith crushes the fairy amulet. The bodyguards rush inside through the wall, but are killed instantly by Smith with 2 silenced pistols. Later, Slevin drags the man's corpse and lays it down next to the ferry. Here we discover that the dead man is indeed Nick, the man Smith attacked at the beginning of the film. The apartment is then blown up by Smith and Slevin. Later, Smith and Slevin go to the boss after killing his henchman in the elevator. Later, while Smith goes to the boss, Slevin goes to Rabbi to pay him the debt of $33,000. However, when Rabbi opens the briefcase, he finds it empty, and Slevin hits him hard on the head, knocking him unconscious.
Everything I owe you.
Turns off the ringer.
Oh! I did.
Oh, I've been in this room before. It's the same as it did 20 years ago.
Bill of goods by the same salesman.
I'm not Nick Fisher.
In the next scene, the boss and the rabbi wake up tied up. Slevin appears and announces the big twist. The mobsters who killed Max were the boss and rabbi, whereas Slevin is Henry, Max's son. Smith turns out to be the hitman who instead took in and raised little Henry following a moral dilemma. Slevin relates that he and Smith killed the bookies and stole the ledgers. They executed Nick and stole his identity after discovering that he owed money to the boss and the rabbi. Later, in revenge, Slevin murdered the boss's son to induce him to pay Smith to murder the rabbi's son. Smith obtained the boss's contract to assassinate the fairy and convinced the rabbi to defend the fairy on the condition that they both pay off Nick's debts, allowing Slevin and Smith unlimited access to the well-protected mob. After revealing his identity, Slevin suffocates Rabbi and the boss by taping plastic bags over their heads, killing them in the same way they had killed his father.
The 2 of you killed everything I ever loved. Fuck you both.
Oh!
Then, we discover that Smith killed Lindsay because she took photos of him. While searching for Slevin, Burkowski receives a phone call from his supervisor and learns the genesis of Slevin's identity. The horse his father had bet on was Lucky Number Slevin, and Kalevrim in Hebrew means bad dog, similar to Smith's appellation. Burkowski killed Slevin's mother to pay off gambling debts he incurred. Burkowski accepts his fate as Slevin gets out of Burkowski's back seat and shoots him, completing his masterpiece of revenge. Lindsay approaches Slevin at the train station, and it is revealed that Smith told Slevin that he had to kill Lindsay because she had a photograph of him. We then find out that Slevin revealed his true identity to Lindsay and helped her stage her death. Slevin tells Smith, who is aware of the deception, that he has to save Lindsay. Smith acknowledges his understanding and decides to leave Lindsay alone.
I didn't think you'd understand.
I understood.
How'd you find out about us?
I'm a world-class assassin.
Smith returns Slevin's father's old watch and walks off.